from various sorts. And an analytical tool, which is visualization analytics, which has become really powerful, and if you're not doing it, you need to be doing it using those tools. And basically those, again, often they're not all open source, but they're web-based, easy to access. And this is the key thing, easy for almost anybody to use, you know. It used to be, and I remember, that's the good thing about being older. I remember, you know, having to program Fortran to actually set up data sets so that I could analyze them, you know. I thought it was really ridiculous. I spent hours and hours and months of my life doing something that today is totally meaningless, right? And to do GIS, to do Geographic Information Systems work or geospatial work, you had to go through a long process of learning ArcGIS or one of its predecessors, and if you didn't use it every day, you forgot it. You know, it was terrible. But these new tools are meant to put data and analysis into the hands of everyone, and that is transformational. That is really a big deal. And one of those is crisis mapping, and it may come into play that you will bring it back into one of your labs in response to a particular acute shock. It's really quite good for acute shock work. It brings the community around providing data to, it's crowdsourced, meaning the community, anybody who can feed into it can actually help make observations about what's going on around shocks and the response to shocks. And so crisis mapping is quite powerful. And we can't go through a lot of depth about these different methods. We just don't have the time right here. But the important thing to know is that they're there, they're very accessible, and we can help you. This is something we do, Stanford does. And it's, like I said, the good news is that all of these things are accessible to users. And it's a lovely situation. So this was my example, and I got a Twitter account. When did Twitter start? I don't know, 2007 or 2008. I don't use it that much, to be honest, but it's great for this kind of thing. You know, I was sitting in my office and said, you know, I wonder how tweeters responded to Hurricane Gustav and Hurricane Ike that actually hit the Gulf Coast in 2008, about 13 days apart. And what you see here is a feature of looking at social media data or looking at any of these, what we might call big data, because they're observations and a large number of observations often. And the interesting thing here is what we call anomalies. And anomalies give us a sense that there's something going on, right? So if you look at the Twitter data, you see these spikes in activity, right? And the spikes occur right around the time of these two hurricanes, right? And if you start like looking at what people are talking about, you know, they're talking about evacuation, they're talking about, you know, they're talking about cities, the ones that are targeted and so forth. A lot more could have been done. This was casual. I did this in 5 minutes at the time using Trendistic, okay? And not that I had any hypothesis, but these are great explorational tools. And again, what we look for is what we call anomalies, differences in the typical pattern of these particular interactions or events. And you know, how can we use the novel methods? I mean, I'll skip this one because I think it's been said before. But the novel methods, though, the emphasis here is more on sense making than necessarily, you know, initially hypothesis testing by looking at anomalies. Therefore, we're looking at a difference in the way we look at data and information in complex systems.